Maybe your snake isn't technically off food, it's just that oftentimes when you try to feed them, they go, "Oh no, I couldn't possibly. Try again next week or maybe next month." And you just want to get your snake on a healthy diet, eating on a regular basis. Is that too much to ask? Molly Malone? Is it? I'm talking about you. It's this snake. Welcome to the Green Room. I'm Bob Bledsoe. This, as you know, is Molly Malone, who, will take a meal, and then she'll skip a month, and then she'll take a meal, and then she'll skip a couple weeks. She's never really been off food. She just doesn't always eat. Behind the camera is my brother Kent. Kent, have you ever skipped a meal? If I ever think I'm in danger of skipping a meal because maybe it's gross or something, I just put Cheese Whiz on it. Goes right down. Oh, gross. Or just use Cheese Whiz as an entire meal replacement. Straight out of the can, right into your mouth. You know you can do that? Well, yeah, I know you can do it. So maybe try Cheese Whiz for the snakes. Thanks, Kent. Folks, I am going to give you just one tip today, and it's not artificial cheese products for your snakes. Let me get Lydia Dietz out so that I can illustrate something real quick before we talk about this tip. Lydia Dietz. Oh, that's not your tub. Oh, hi. You're ready to come out anyway. Okay, I just want to show, hopefully you can see a difference here. Now, these are two completely different snakes, and snakes grow at different rates, and that's okay. I want to stress that I'm doing a size comparison here, but it's not really fair because they are two different snakes. But here's the reason that I'm doing this. Lydia Dietz and Molly Malone are about the same age, and I got them at about the same time. And for many months, they grew at exactly the same rate. They were exactly the same size. And then Molly here started skipping some meals. And again, she is not an unhealthy weight at all. She is just fine. I just want to get her in the habit of taking meals, especially because she's going to hit that 1,000-gram mark at some point. She's probably 700 grams right now. And I want her just used to eating meals. I don't want her to stall out at 1,000 grams like some females tend to do. Lydia Dietz here has never missed a meal, I don't think, and she actually is a little bit on the chunky side, and so I'm feeding her smaller meals now. But I don't know if you can see. So we've got about a 700-gram snake, and we have about a 900-gram snake. So that's the difference in taking meals and skipping meals. And if you haven't seen it, I do have a video of what to do when your snake is off food. This tip that I'm about to give you is something you can do if your snake's off food, but I want to make sure that you are going through the list of all the husbandry things and the health things that you need to check on your snake to see if they're off food because they're uncomfortable. That's a big common thing. So this snake is not off food, and this snake is not unhealthy. I just want her in a habit of accepting food when she gets fed. Once a week right now is when she gets fed, and then we'll move to every 10 days and sometimes every 2 weeks. But I want her in a habit. These snakes are creatures of habit, and once they get used to refusing some meals, they can easily go off food. So she has, at times, there's been a time or two that she's refused three weeks in a row, and I don't like that. So let's get to this tip. This is DaVinci Boa reptile stuff. I don't think it's called reptile stuff. It's a supplement. It's basically all this is vitamins, amino acid, and calcium. And the company DaVinci that makes this was giving it to their boas just as a supplement, but they found that it works in boosting reptiles' appetite. So for a species of reptile that does not sometimes have a good appetite, like a ball python, it's kind of a game changer. And so I'm using this not only on Molly Malone, but Ron. Let me show you Ron. Let's just get him out because he's right here. Hi, buddy. Look at Ron. He's all cleared up. He's about to shed. So Ron is a really cool snake who has a guitar on the top of his head. Look at that guitar head stamp. How cool is that, right? Anyway, Ron is not a great eater. He doesn't ever go off food, but he skips meals occasionally, and really that's okay. I'm not trying to get him up to breeding size because he's already up to breeding size, and I'm not trying to make him an obese snake. But again, I don't want him to go off food, so I'd like him to be in the habit of it. I'd like him to have a little bit better appetite. And look how pretty he is. He's, I believe, the father of the clutch that I'm about to hatch out in a couple weeks. What luck. You found a hide immediately. Good job. There you go. I also started giving this stuff to Freya, who is the mother of the clutch that's currently in my incubator. She's back on food, but she's not regularly taking meals, so she's skipping occasionally. And I'd like her to just have that extra vitamin and calcium anyway, because she just laid a clutch. And I think this is probably going to get her back eating on a regular basis. And I just also started giving it to Lucille, Lucille's my pied, and people say that pieds have a tendency to not be good eaters. I don't know if that's true or if that's coincidence, but I'll tell you that Lucille, before breeding season, well before breeding season, was off food for like 5 months. And then she started slamming food, and she got up to weight right away and started breeding and did really well. And now she's been off food because of breeding season. I don't think she's going to go this year. But aside from that, I'm giving her this stuff just to help her out, and hopefully she'll get back on food. And also, she's a mouser, and I would love for her to take rats. So if this really works for her and really gets her appetite going, she might take a rat once she's back on food. So that's kind of my plan. Molly's the only one who's had this on a regular basis, and she is back on food, no problem, not skipping meals anymore. The plan here is, and tell me if you use this stuff, tell me what you're doing as far as dosage and how you're allocating it. What I'm planning on doing is, anytime a snake misses a meal, let's say I feed them on a Tuesday, if they skip their meal, I'm going to give them DaVinci on Wednesday. And hopefully that'll just boost things. You can give this to them once a week. Some people do once a month if they're just feeding it as a healthy supplement. You can go once a month. Giving it to them, let's talk about that, is not a thing that the snake necessarily enjoys. So this is something that you got to be really careful. I use a little bendable plastic pipette. You can get these off Amazon. They're just little plastic things. The reason I use a bendable one instead of a syringe is you're going to put this down the snake's throat, and you'll be holding the snake. In fact, I have some footage of it. Use a partner if you can. And you guys, it's your choice whether your partner looks exactly like you or not. I choose somebody who looks exactly like me because I think it makes the snakes feel more comfortable. That's not true. If you saw my video recently about going out of town, Lucy is the one that takes care of my snakes. When I'm out of town, she comes in every few days and gives them water and spot cleans. And she also holds the snake while I give supplement if she happens to be here on a day that I'm doing that. So the way this works is you want to go slow and steady with it. You're just going to take the pipette and open the snake's mouth with the tip of it, at the front of their mouth, or you can do the side of their mouth, whatever. And then you're going to slowly slide that down. Make sure you're getting into the throat. There's a Jacobs's organ there and some stuff that you don't want to mess with in their mouth. So get down their throat and slowly squeeze that stuff in, and then keep your pipette squeezed as you pull out, because otherwise you're going to suck that fluid that's in their neck back up, and you don't want to do that. You're probably going to lose some fluid anyway in this process. It'll go out the side of their mouths a little bit. I fill the pipette up a little bit more than I need to. So the dosage that I use is like for 1,000 gram snake, I'm going to use 1 mil. So I do a little bit more. And remember, this is vitamins, amino acids, and calcium. It's not medication that has to have a perfect dosage. I mean, you don't want to give them double the amount or anything, but you can fill this up a little bit more knowing that you're probably going to lose a little bit. So I do that. I slowly put it down their throat, squeeze, and then pull out, and probably your pipette's going to catch on a tooth or something like that, so you might have to wiggle a little bit, but that's why you're not going to rip it out of their mouth. You want to sort of make sure that you're not taking teeth along with it. Again, you guys, this is not a process that your snake is going to enjoy. They'll get used to it as you do it more. They'll get used to doing it. You'll get used to doing it. But it causes them a little bit of stress. So you've got to decide if the benefit is worth it. Also, this is not a cheap bottle. I think this is 100 mils maybe, and it's $85. I think it's either 80 or 85. So pretty expensive stuff. And I think that it probably works on the majority of snakes. Billy at Mutation Creation uses it for a lot of his snakes that are either not good eaters or totally off food. And I think it works for like 80% of the snakes that he uses it with. But my point is, if you only have one snake and they're just kind of a spotty eater, that may not work. Also, and again, I want to be really careful here when I say this, if you have a snake that's totally off food, this might get them back on food. But the reason this video is about snakes that are just kind of picky eaters is because I want to make sure that if your snake is off food, you're covering all those other bases first. This is like when I did that video about how to get your snake back on food, one of the things I said is, don't take that advice that people say that it's a ball python and they just go off food sometimes, because that makes it so that you're going to ignore potential problems in your husbandry and potential problems in the health of your snake. This is kind of the same situation. If you jump straight to DaVinci Boa and go, oh, let me try this will probably work, it might make you ignore something that's going on that you need to have fixed. So do all that stuff first, and then if your snake is still off food, that stuff might work. But again, it's expensive and it may not work for all snakes. I have a handful of snakes that I'm using it with, and I know that, if it works on just one of those, it'll be great. I actually have high hopes. I think it's going to work on everybody. And if it doesn't, let's say that Ron never becomes a solid eater as a result of getting DaVinci Boa. If he refuses once or twice a month, he's at least going to get supplement, which is healthy vitamin and calcium and mineral for him. When a snake doesn't eat, they're not getting the calcium that they need. Usually they're going to get calcium from the bones of the prey item. So this just gives them a little extra boost. So again, Molly is eating on a regular basis, which I think is great. It's going to help her get up to breeding size a little bit quicker. I'm not trying to rush their breeding size. She'll breed when she's 3 years old, probably, or 4, and that's fine. But I'm okay with their normal growth as long as they're eating on a regular basis, every 7 days right now, and then as they grow every 10 days or 2 weeks. It's going to help Freya get back up to breeding weight faster, so that hopefully she can breed for me this coming season. And it's going to help Lucille get back on food eventually, and hopefully start taking rats. And then Ron too. I just want Ron to be in the habit of eating food so that he doesn't decide one day that he's going to skip for months on end. So his is not that big of a deal, but I just want him to have the extra stuff if he decides not to take a meal. Kent, do you have a Kent's Corner for us this week? I didn't, but I do now. I'm going to show you my Cheese Whiz meal replacement plan. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, man. I already explained it. I want to show how it works. Okay, I guess let's cut to Kent's thing. But if this is you just literally eating Cheese Whiz... Thank you for watching this very special dieting and health episode of Kent's Corner. I feel like that Kent's Corner could have been planned better. So, you guys, I'll give you an update. Maybe we'll do a YouTube live stream the next few weeks, and I'll give you an update on how the other snakes are doing on the DaVinci Boa. And if you're using it for a boa or a ball python or a carpet python or a bearded dragon, let me know how you're using it and what your results are. I think this is really cool stuff. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Hit the like and the subscribe and do all that stuff. And if you want sticker packs, there's info in the description on how to get those. That's all I got. See you next week. If you want a snake that never skips a meal, get yourself a little super dwarf reticulated python. They eat everything you give them. Don't feed them too much.